My earlier boss used to always compare ERP to marriage. You can take whatever time you want
Okay,
to select the right partner. But once you have selected,
you are stuck with it.
not exactly stuck, but getting out of it is going to be a tough kind
Difficult.
of a thing.
Hello, everyone. Get ready for an exciting ride as we launch the fourth season of Anubhav. I am Advika Kantu and I'm thrilled to be your host for the inaugural episode of Anubhav Season 4. In the previous season, Anubhav took a deep dive into the summer internship journey, exploring the diverse specializations offered here at SIMS. Across 5 compelling episodes, it tackled students' burning questions about excelling in interviews, thriving during internships, and carving out career paths. We were fortunate to host esteemed alumni from SIMS, generously sharing their corporate insights and invaluable advice. For those who missed the previous season of Anubhav, I highly recommend giving it a listen. Now, in this episode, our spotlight is on operations and supply chain management. We're plunging into the complexities of operations management, starting with the intricate world of ERP systems. We're set to unveil hidden insights, navigate challenges, and unearth the potential successes linked with ERP implementation. So let's dive into our weekly dose of the podcast. Today, I'm excited to welcome our guest, Mr. Sandeep Khedkar.
Thank you.
Sir is currently working as a visiting faculty at SIMS, teaching subjects related to business transformation strategy, integrated operations management, general management, and business IT solutions, and has a rich experience working with corporates. With an educational background in chemical engineering and financial management, Sir has been associated with respected names like Infor, HP, KPIT Cummins Infosystems Limited, and Tech Mahindra. Sir is also a talented watercolor artist, and a dedicated focus on realistic and creative naturescape has made him get a huge following on LinkedIn as well. He's consistently showcased his artworks and is here today with us. Thank you so much for coming on this episode, sir.
Thank you.
Throughout this episode, he will serve as our mentor, guiding us through the pivotal role ERP systems play in today's business sphere. Whether it's deciphering modules, dissecting implementation strategies, or uncovering the practical benefits for aspiring professionals like ourselves, Anubhav stands ready to illuminate your path of knowledge. So let's start from the very beginning, sir.
Sure.
How do you feel on a Sunday morning coming here to SIMS and
It's
being
actually
on our
nice.
podcast?
I have my lecture scheduled after some time. So in
Right.
fact, Sundays, it's no new to me.
Right.
It's depending on which institute and which course. There are a lot of executive MBA students who are here. So their classes are held on Sundays.
And how about any new paintings that you've made recently?
I keep painting. There are a lot of ideas that I explore, both on the creative abstract side as well as landscapes. I keep, as you mentioned, I keep posting on the LinkedIn thing as well as Facebook and Insta.
Yes, sir.
So there are a few concepts I'm working on, more on the large format paintings and stuff.
That's amazing to know, sir. All the best for that.
Thank you.
So let's begin from the very beginning. I would just like to, for our audience, what exactly is ERP and how does it hold an importance in today's business landscape?
Okay, so before I answer the question, what is ERP?
Right.
Okay, let's first understand where does it fit in.
Got it.
Okay, as an organization, I'll start with basics. Okay, as an organization, we are requiring to convert some inputs that we receive, maybe materials, maybe information, maybe some money, people,
Right.
and it's our job to convert those inputs into some outputs.
Yes.
And while we are doing that, as a basic performance of the organization, we seek to improve it in terms of both efficiencies as well as effectiveness.
Right.
Now the question is, how do you achieve this performance improvement? That's the focal point of not just ERP, but I would say any IT initiative that is there, one should focus on. So at a most fundamental level, when we are looking at processes, there are processes which span across the organization. Be it any department, we are focused on processes. So when we are talking about these processes, we have activities, and whenever activities get carried out, generally you will have some resource consumption happening out there.
Yes.
Some costs get incurred, and results may or may not come in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's subject to how
That's a lot
well
of
we are effective or not, right?
businesses struggle with.
Exactly. So if I want to improve the performance, the first thing that I have to do is to record all the transactions that happen
Yeah.
within the organization. And then ERP is the place where all the transactions, and by transactions I don't mean just monetary transactions. Anything that is a give and take, any place where work moves from one desk to the next one workstation to the next one is a transaction. We need to record that. And ERP is the software, it's a mega software which helps us record transactions happening at every nook and corner of the organization.
Right, right. So it's not just for operations, you say, it's
Absolutely
for the entire
not.
business
I mean,
organization.
I really am surprised as to that perception, which has been persisted for quite a long time, is ERP is for operations. No. In fact, ERP, I would go back, what is operations? Operations is about managing those processes which convert the inputs into outputs. So it's universal. And ERP is there in every department. If you're looking at, say, finance, finance is one of the core areas of ERP. And for implementing financial side of ERP, you need a finance professional.
Got it.
Same way, if there's sales, marketing, distribution areas in ERP, you need those professionals to understand the business side, who can then use the software to build up the performance out there. So it's
Got
not
it.
just an operations thing, it's a universal thing. Any department, any professional, I would say, must know what is ERP, must know.
Yes, sir. We'll get back to that
Sure.
in a while. But so since we're talking about ERP and how businesses should be taking it up, can you guide us through how exactly the process of ERP implementation takes place and how it's essential for businesses to choose the right one for them?
Okay. So first things, why do we need an ERP as an organization? As I just mentioned, we want to improve our performance.
Yes.
Okay. Now every organization is always going to face some problems, some challenges. The reason, of course, is the environment keeps on changing, and towards that, the organization always has to readjust itself, and challenges exist.
Yes.
To deal with those challenges, the organization is going to need information. So the first place where I believe one should begin is to understand what are the processes that are currently being followed within the organization, one. And second, within those processes, what are the key challenges that are faced by the organization?
Identification is a must. And crucial.
Challenges.
Right.
It's a non-technical thing. It's a pure business side.
Right.
How am I doing something? And while doing that something, what are the challenges that I face? Say, for example, a salesperson wants to figure out what is the level of discount I should give to a customer.
Yes.
How do I decide?
Costs.
It's a challenge because I have to give a discount in order to generate revenues, but I have to maintain that discount at a certain level,
Margin.
which works out in the favor of the company as well.
Yes.
So it's a win-win situation.
Right.
But what is that magic number? 5%, 10%, 15%? How do I know?
How do you derive at that number?
So to do that, Peter Drucker, father of modern
Modern
management,
management,
said
yes.
something almost 50, 60 years back. He said, what gets measured gets managed. So if you want to manage the performance of the organization, the first thing is find out the processes, find out what challenges you face out there.
Right.
Okay, so that is something which is the first step. Then you move into the ERP world. You identify the requirements. Now, once you have identified the challenges, second question or second step is going to be, okay, what information do I need to give the answers to these questions and the challenges? So find out your information needs. Based on that, you get into the selection of ERP solutions.
Got it.
So when you say implementation, we'll talk about it, but ERP life cycle, is a broader thing, but
Right.
we can split that. The first part is how should organizations perceive and look at ERP?
Right.
Focus on challenges, focus on what performance improvements you want, focus on what information you want
Got
to
it.
take those decisions, and then check which ERP is going to help you with all that.
So, sir, like you said, how do we ensure that businesses are making sure that they identify the right mistakes and they know that, right, this is the software that I have to use and these are my challenges and I think this is a perfect fit. And how does it eventually help increase business efficiencies?
Okay. So to do that, the process management principles, they would come into play.
Okay.
There are techniques wherein we map out different processes. It doesn't need any technological skills,
Got it.
but what it does need is a good business understanding. So generally, we would involve the subject matter experts within the organization to work on these areas.
Got it.
Challenges are known to everyone.
Right.
Like I face a challenge, you face a challenge. Everyone
Yes.
faces a challenge in their job. The trick is to ask a question, what information do I need to help me address
Solve
those
this.
challenges? That's the starting point. If you have that in place, then multiple options open up.
Got it.
You can do it yourself, like there are ways and means where you can map out the requirements that are there, the business side of it. If a company says we are not so confident about it, then there are consulting companies
Right.
which will help you in the selection of the ERP softwares.
Got it. So, sir, give us an insight into what kind of softwares there are available and how does one get to know and learn about these softwares?
Okay. There are actually different types of softwares available.
Okay.
If you look at the evolution of ERP, ERP as a concept is relatively new.
Okay.
Relatively,
Yeah.
somewhere around late 80s, early 90s, the concept of ERP really caught on. Up to that point, the concept of ERP was non-existent. Individual departments, they had their own softwares, and there was a lot of effort required to integrate the data between those softwares. And there used to be a lot of confusion and efforts going around with it.
Right.
So the companies which were developing these softwares, they said, why not stitch everything together and give a mega software to organizations where it's, you put that one thing in place and you have covered everything.
Right.
So that software is what that ERP is.
Yeah.
Now there are different types, there are different varieties of software. On the top end you have companies like SAP,
Right.
Oracle,
Yes.
Infor, okay, who have world-class softwares. They embed the best practices of industries across the world and they make it available
For everyone.
to organizations. So actually one does look up to these ERP companies
Right.
to understand what the best practices are and understand them so that even those companies which are not into it are able to appreciate these best practices. These are of course on the top end side.
Yes.
Again, on the lower end side, you have some homegrown ERP solutions like Tally,
Yes.
which have come a long way.
Yep.
It started as an accounting software, but
Right.
today Tally finds an important place in the small and medium enterprises.
Right.
So ERP comes in different shapes and
Shapes and
sizes.
sizes.
Nowadays, of course, the cloud dimension also has added
Right.
another variable to it.
Right. Right.
But irrespective of these, the core principles of ERP, they remain true. They don't change.
Right, sir. So, like we were talking, how beneficial is it for an MBA student to update themselves on ERP and how does it help them in their career paths in the future? What is the value of knowing ERP as a software?
Okay. So when we talk of a career, there are two basic pathways that emerge in ERP. One is that of a technical consultant.
Okay.
The other one is that of a functional consultant.
Okay.
Technical consultant is dealing with the technological aspects of ERP, whereas the functional consultant focuses on the business aspects of ERP. As an MBA student, I believe technology can be considered as a black box. You have professionals who work on that. We need to know how to manage the ERP. Because ERP, it's not a one-time, I mean, a short-term kind of a thing. It's a long-term thing. You are committed to ERP. In fact, on a lighter note, my earlier boss used to always compare ERP to marriage. You can take whatever time you want
Okay.
to select the right partner. But once you have selected,
You are stuck with it.
not exactly stuck, but getting out of it is going to be a tough kind
Difficult.
of a thing. ERP is something similar because it's not just a software that you buy. You are buying a way of life.
Right.
And that way of life is revolving around the best practices that
Of
are
an
being followed in
organization.
that sector. Plus, implementing an ERP can take a lot of efforts.
Right.
It's not an
Right.
easy thing to do.
Right, sir.
So towards that, one has to really understand. Now, this is where the career opportunities open up
Right.
for MBA professionals.
Right.
Irrespective of which discipline you take, if you have ERP, couple of things. First of all, it gives you an immediate career placement opportunity because whether in IT or technology organizations or otherwise, all companies are using ERP in
Right.
some way or the other.
Right.
And they need good people to understand the power of ERP, which helps them improve their performance. So that's the first career opportunity that comes up. Second type of opportunity that comes up is you might not be in core ERP as a consultant, but you may be an active user of ERP. And again, the same things apply. As a user of ERP, let's say I am, say, an HR manager, and I want to look at how to reduce my attrition rates.
Okay.
I'm not an ERP consultant, but as an HR manager, I want to know how to reduce the attrition rate. What is the information that I want out of ERP? Which will help me take actions and reduce the attrition rate.
Got it.
So once you start working backwards, ERP is going to help you in your profession in that sense also. Okay. A few other things that come up as options is over the life cycle of ERP, which we will talk about. There are three main stages that come up. One is selection of ERP.
Right.
Second is implementation of ERP. And the third part is optimization of ERP.
Got it.
In selection of ERP, the company is selecting something. Okay. There are consulting opportunities that you can help organizations select ERPs. So you have the big consulting companies, they provide services on that. Alternatively, you can work with an ERP company
Right.
or an ERP partner
Correct.
and get involved in pre-sales solution consulting,
Got it.
where you can meet customers across industries, understand what their needs are, you get into architecting of ERP solutions,
Right.
and you are facing the customers, those people who want the thrill of business development. They can do a lot of stuff
Right,
with
sir.
pre-sales consulting.
Yes.
In implementations, if you want to be on-site, working on client opportunities and helping specific companies implement the entire ERP, a lot of opportunities exist out there. And big opportunities also come up when we are looking at optimization.
Right, sir.
Optimization is the place where you really make it work from a performance improvement perspective.
Is it a make or break over there?
No, it's not a make or break,
Okay.
but you have to keep at it.
Yeah.
I mean, just as, looking at that marriage example, selection.
Yes.
You take your time, who's going to be your life partner, okay, you do that, okay. From the time you decide to the time you actually get married, there's a lot of preparations that happen.
True.
Okay, that's where you can look at it as an implementation side.
Got it.
Okay, moment the rings are exchanged or the garlands are exchanged, okay, the marriage is done,
Yeah.
okay, after that what? Is it happily ever after? Immediately, answer is no.
You have to make it work.
You have to make it work. There will be challenges, there will be stuff coming at you. You have to make it work. Exactly the same thing happens. And companies, they need guidance, they need assistance. How to make it work. And when I say make it work, how to increase the performance of the organization in terms of, again, the two basic parameters, efficiency and effectiveness.
Got it, sir. Thank you. All right, thank you, sir. So, like you were saying, we were talking about the implementation and the whole life cycle of it.
Hmm.
So, there are companies that are struggling to make it work, like we were talking about, and there are so many companies that are still in the process of implementation, and there are many businesses who haven't even gone to it yet,
Right.
right? So, what one advice would you give businesses to, select ERP and why it's so core to the organization? Because I think as businesses want to move forward to better heights, this is one of the key crucial elements of their business efficiencies, right?
Right.
So, what advice would you give?
See, your question itself is the advice. It is core to the
Right.
organization.
Mm-hmm.
There are new companies coming up,
Mm-hmm.
they need ERP.
Correct.
There are existing companies which are in the process of using it. There are old companies which have already gone through the whole journey, but they still need ERP. So ERP is core.
Yes.
It's as good as any other thing.
Right. Sir.
So that is one advice.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing which I would like to mention is
Yes. Sir.
ERP is not typically a do-it-yourself kind of a thing.
Right.
It is complex, and uh, there have been cases, rare fortunately, but there have been cases where the wrong type of ERP, wrong implementation of ERP has actually degenerated the company's performance. So it's a specialist job.
Right.
Get a specialist
Right.
and do it. That's one advice that I would give. It's not a do-it-yourself.
Right.
You need to seek out the best people because it's the way in which your organization is going to work for a very long time. So if that implementation is not done properly, or say some of the parameter settings that are required in ERP, if that is not done properly, it can impact business operations adversely.
Right. Sir.
So it's not a do or die kind of a thing, make or break kind of a thing, but hire a professional team, get a professional organization who is an expert into all those areas, and then get it done. That's something which I would say.
So, can you tell us any story of how companies that have implemented ERP and it's benefited them greatly? From
Sure.
Industry.
Sure. I'll share some things from my own experience, both as pre-sales as well as post-sales, across the whole spectrum. Okay. One company, I won't name that, but it's a big company in India, one of the leading companies in India. First I'll focus on the selection side, okay,
Yes,
the
sir.
pre-sales consulting side. So the company came up with a requirement which was pretty unique. Okay. The more we looked at it, we said a standards approach of going into presenting an ERP is not going to really work out. So we went in, and that was our usual practice. We used to meet our clients, understand, maybe visit their factories, understand what's happening out there, and then simulate the whole thing and architect the whole thing on ERP. The first thing happened perfectly well. Okay, the typical the client engagement that had to happen.
Right.
Okay, the rapport building that had to happen, the kind of demonstrations that we did with our ERP solutions, they simply wowed the customer.
Nice.
Okay, and it happened in a very copybook
Way.
type of a fashion. Okay, and we won the contract, which was nice. Negotiations happened and all that. We won the contract. Okay, success story.
Right.
I'll continue with this success story.
Sure, sir.
Okay, there's another case wherein we were again engaging with a large company. We had been through almost 4 months, 5 months of pre-sales efforts. Lot of demonstrations had happened. We had completed the negotiations.
Okay.
And the day had come wherein
Seal
we
the
had
deal.
to sign the order, receive a signed order. Our very senior people from our side went across. They met the chairman of the organization. And that chairman, somewhere something had happened. And the chairman looked up at his IT head and says, yes, I mean, why are these people here?
Oh, surprising.
Surprise. These things happen. Okay.
Right.
But if you follow the methods, there is a proper methodology
Okay.
associated with selection.
Okay.
You need to understand that there are checks and balances that one has to carry out. But given that, you can have a good selection kind of a thing. Okay. Now coming to the second stage of implementation.
Right.
What makes or breaks and implementation.
Yes.
The success story that I mentioned just a
Yes.
minute back related to the pre-sales turned out to be a disaster in the implementation.
Okay.
The two major factors which I would attribute to that is, and which is by the way success factors, is the commitment and the physical presence, the visible presence of the top management
Okay.
is one of the most important factors in a ERP.
Got it.
One. And second, dedicated allocation of subject matter experts
Right.
who are in a position to take decisions,
Got it.
who understand the business is another critical success factor.
Got it.
While that pre-sales thing happened perfectly well, both these factors in implementation,
Went wrong.
they were non-existent. The company's top management simply vanished. They were not visibly involved out there, okay? And the project managers and the subject matter experts they had put in were simply not so knowledgeable about the business. Failures. But yes, if these two factors are present, and fortunately I would say there have been a large number of cases where these two factors have been present and they have made a difference. There's one company we were implementing for a very long time, a series of companies. It was a large group in the Middle East.
Okay.
There, the company had earlier burnt its fingers. An ERP implementation had failed, and now they said, okay, fine, we will get involved, we'll get the best people and all stuff. So they appointed our company. And there's an incident. They said, we want the best experienced professionals coming in. At that time, I was fairly new.
Okay.
So this person is good on the knowledge of the software side, but does not have any implementation experience. So we were kind of apprehensive of choosing me. But then our boss, they intervened. Okay, they convinced that okay, if this person doesn't perform, we will pull him back. Don't worry. Fortunately, it got caught on. I mean, it was a successful implementation. But the point is, the top management spent almost one whole month with us on a daily basis, 12 hours a day. They were in the room with us, sorting out everything. They put the entire foundation of ERP in place. And from there was no looking backwards.
Nice.
The benefits that you asked for,
Yes.
their inventory levels actually came down. Their production capacity planning was much more streamlined. Sales were much more efficient. Overall, the performance of the organization improved. Things were happening more smoothly. And the other factor also was present. They put the best people on the job,
Right.
which is a very, very essential thing.
So, sir, like you mentioned, we do know that top management is extremely crucial where it comes to change management, right? And implementing an ERP is extremely tedious and complex, and it impacts everybody in the organization.
Yes.
So, how would you advise that the change management process takes place in an organization with respect to top management, and that the flow of communication is throughout the organization?
See, while we talk of change, and everyone typically would say, yes, we need to change,
Right.
the implied thing is, but don't ask me to change.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
that's
not
one
easy.
thing.
Yeah.
Second thing, when we are looking at change management, by the way, ERP is actually about change
Change
management.
management. Right. Yeah.
You're changing the fabric of the organization
Exactly.
through the medium of IT solutions.
Yes.
Okay. So when employees are asked to shift over into ERP, when subject matter experts are given the additional responsibility of managing the ERP implementations along with their departmental responsibilities, okay, there is a lot of effort that is required. A lot of things need to be done. Now, when management is not seen, the importance of the ERP goes down. Okay, so that's one thing. But even if the management is seen and all, one of the change management dimensions that many times may be ignored is every employee or every person in the organization is an employee.
Yes.
While the benefits to the organization are well established, the efforts are also being put in by the employee. And as is human nature, people are bound to ask, what's in it for me?
Yes.
I remember that, that scene from Sholay where Viru is asking Jay to promote his cause for marriage.
Right.
Okay. And he says, Shadi hogi, this is teri hogi, bacche honge, tere honge. It's something like this.
Yeah.
Benefits milenge.
Uske
It's the
baad,
company
yeah.
which is going to get the benefits. What's in it for me?
Right.
So from a change management perspective, a couple of things, depending on their role, depending on the efforts, depending on the risk that the employee is undertaking. Because when ERP is coming in, be rest assured things are going to change. Be rest assured some things are going to get automated.
Yes.
Be rest assured those people will need alternative work.
Right.
So there has to be some means of incentivizing the employees to shift over into ERP. How? There are many ways.
Right.
Motivation theories
Yes.
are there. If you look at what I love to mention is in the Indian context, we have a very ancient motivation theory which generally nobody talks about. Everyone knows about Maslow's and Herzberg's and other stuff.
Right.
We have a theory. It's called as Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed. It works.
It
Sam,
works,
that's
it
the communication part. You need to convince people, you need to communicate with the people on an ongoing basis. Maybe emails, maybe posters on the wall, maybe like a podcast
Right,
that we are
right.
doing, whatever. You have to keep communicating. Sam.
Yes.
Dam, you have to have some incentives because people are going to put in extra work. People are going to face a loss of job. Or loss of job, or I would say loss of the work area.
Work.
May not be a job,
Yeah.
but maybe a loss of their own core work area. Because ERP is going to automate a few things. So what is the compensation? Maybe monetary, maybe non-monetary, could be anything, okay, but something. An appreciation that comes across to these employees. There are times when some employees, especially departmental heads or people in some power position, they may actually not want to get into ERP because it upsets their current position.
Authority?
They have power,
Yes.
and that power emanates from the core information that they have. ERP is going to throw open that Pandora's box to everyone, right? So those people may be requiring some motivation in terms of some penalties or something which guides them into the right path, because it's the organization. You cannot subordinate the organizational goals for the individual goals. As far as we can accommodate, we need to do things.
So these are ways how you maintain the change, right? Because you don't
drive
want to
the
revert.
change, you maintain the
Right,
change.
right.
You basically, change is what? Getting the other people motivated to change.
Yes.
That's change management.
Right.
For some, like in Hindi we say, समझदार को इशारा काफी है. Then sufficient.
Got it.
But for some, लातों के भूत बातों से नहीं मानते. So even that thing is required, because as I said, the organizational performance is paramount. Individuals, yes, can be rotated, and as the HR professional, one has to look at that as well.
Got it.
That with minimum disruption to the employee's life, because it's a livelihood for the employee. So retrain them, reskill them, redeploy them into some other areas. Those things are going to be required in a successful ERP implementation.
Yes, sir. I think we've learned quite a lot about ERP today, and basically the mindset that goes behind implementing it and the different strategies a businesses can probably use. So as we bring this conversation to a close, I would just like to ask you to leave our audience with 3 things that they should keep in mind, maybe as an MBA student, about why ERP is so important today and why it is a must in today's world.
Okay. So a couple of things. ERP helps us understand business processes.
Yes.
That's one. Okay. So if you understand business processes, especially integrated business processes, you know how the organization works. Benefit number 1.
Yes.
Second benefit, the kind of opportunities that come up, both from an immediate term perspective, immediately after your MBA, there are going to be technology companies which are going to come in,
Right.
and they create a pathway for consulting. Third thing, when as a person progresses into their careers, okay, you are required to take people along.
Yeah.
You have to align yourself to the goals of the organization. Towards that, you will be required to take decisions, because the technology landscape is going to keep on changing. Whether you are a direct contributor or an indirect contributor, your contribution is going to be necessary. And if you understand the core aspects of ERP, as a manager, you will be able to generate your performance improvement through ERP and related technologies. Today the technology landscape is pretty large, but through ERP, which is sits at the core, and then all the peripheral technologies that are there, you can get the requisite information and focus on the improvement.
Right. Sir, so I am an MBA student, but I am not somebody who's into technology or say ERP like very directly, right? So where can students learn these tips and tricks of ERP, and where do they find these informations from? Apart from, say, in college.
If you look at, see, outside, see, one is MBA colleges.
Right.
Okay. Again, different colleges have a different perspective about ERP. Fortunately, with us, we focus on the management aspects of ERP, how to manage the ERP over the life cycle. Now, the advantage out here is that whatever we study here at SIMS, it really doesn't depend on which company is coming to campus. Like, it's not that I'm studying SAP here, and tomorrow Oracle comes to campus and says, no, SAP thing is not relevant to us. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
So that's one side, understanding the management side of ERP, that's one. Alternatively, people can have, there are many courses, which albeit are quite expensive, and they will train you on the specific modules of ERP.
Right.
That's point number 2. Third way a person can get into ERP is maybe through an MBA college. You understand the management of ERP. When companies come to campus, they are going to have their own requirements. And generally, companies like Infosys, TCS, and others, they typically have an onboarding program. And depending on their need,
They train you that.
they would train you on that. But what they want from your side is a very strong business understanding of not just the company, but of the ERP and the
Industry
software as well.
Got it.
So that's something one can really focus on. And if you go through an MBA program with a management approach to ERP and similar things, it actually creates many more openings as a part of your placements as well as subsequent career.
Yes. I hope all MBA students listening to this go on to Coursera or edX or any other platforms that they have access to and go through these courses to make themselves better at this. So thank you so much, sir, for having shared your valuable information. Before we close, I have a quick rapid fire round for you. First one is chatbots in ERP, helpful assistants or unnecessary add-ons?
At the moment, I would currently go with 3. At the moment.
Okay.
In the future, things will change, yes.
All right. Top ERP mistake, ignoring employee feedback or rushing the process?
Rushing the process.
Yes. Happy ERP user, simplified interfaces or offer extensive training?
I would go with all.
Right, sir. And 5G impact on ERP, faster processes or just hype?
I don't see much of an impact from a management of ERP perspective.
Right.
Speed, data processing, maybe, but it really doesn't impact too much.
Okay. And last one, social media integration in ERP, helpful or distracting?
I would first question what is that integration that you want from ERP?
Got it.
Because ERP is something which is very internal to the organization. Social media is what you want to proclaim to the world.
Right.
So it's a debatable point as to what is it that you want to proclaim to the world, which ERP is going to send across. There may be some things, but I see a limited automation happening out there.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much, sir. I think that was it for this podcast. And as we draw this episode to a close, I hope you've gained valuable insights and their impact on operations management. Thank you so much, sir, for having shared your expertise and shedding light on this crucial aspect of modern business. To our listeners, stay tuned for upcoming episodes where we'll continue to unravel the fascinating layers of various specialization related contemporary topics and we delve into compelling facets of business. Remember, Anubhav is here to accompany you on your journey of learning and discovery. Tune in next time for another engaging session of Anubhav, your gateway to a deeper understanding of the business world. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep experiencing the Anubhav. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.